We just got back from Los Angeles where we were at the Air and Water Porsche show. There were $1 million Porsches everywhere you look. Does that mean prices are about to go sky high, or is it time to face the music on Singers? Let's find out. This is Bid Nerds. We're going to go over our bids from the last episode, and we've got brand new predictions. This is Bid Nerds. The bidding starts now. Nerds! Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube card game show where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Haggerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Yes, sir, we are back. It is time for Bid Nerds. Thanks for hanging out, you guys. We missed you. Sorry about that missing the Sunday show, but it is back on. We are going to talk about Porsche prices and prices of all kinds of cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, and more. My name is John Polnick. I'm your host, coming to you from the Rummy Studio in downtown Las Vegas, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, in San Francisco. How you doing, Michael Deeb? What's up?
I lost my voice on that trip, man. What an unbelievable weekend we had. Just JP overwhelmed with everything, man. Well, anyway, it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and I'm still buzzing from the weekend. I think we have a guest we need to get to, right?
We do have a guest tonight. He was a guest on the last show, but we could only hear his voice. Tonight, we have the real deal. We got the whole Buddha.
It's God. Yeah,
Michael Myers in studio. How you doing? What's happening? Buddha, what's going on? Say hello.
What's up, everybody? Sorry you got to look at this tonight, but we're going to have some fun. And again, what a amazing weekend. I'm just still on a cloud nine from
that's it, cloud nine. Yeah, I was going to describe this weekend, but I think Buddha did it best before we went online. He said he was still on cloud nine, and cloud nine is such a great description. It was just so fun. The weather was perfect. It felt like everybody was there except Mauricio, and and then Ben had we had a great drive, and then Chef hooked up the dinner at that Naples barbecue down there in Long Beach. We had a great meal together. And then the show, John, whatever we expected the show, I think you and I were both pretty suspect as we waited in those long lines to get our cars into Air and Water. We could see big empty parking lot alongside the staging area. And you and I kind of looked at each other going, dude, if they're lining these cars up like sardines, this show's going to be pathetic. And of course, that was only a fraction of the show. And it was, immense. It was overwhelming. There were well over 1,000 cars. There were well over 10,000 people. And like I said, everybody was there. It was just so much fun. You and I couldn't walk together more than 100 yards because you would see somebody you would know, then I would see somebody I would know, and then you would see somebody you would know. And we just got separated, and I saw you. I picked you up like 3 hours later. I'm like, hey, man, you ready to go? I'm exhausted, and I can't talk anymore. But
I will say, the last, I don't know, all the Luftkults, it's always like, me and Professor are being kicked out. Like finally, Patrick Long comes over on a bicycle. It's like, why are you here? Go home.
Go home. The show's over. The show's over.
Yeah, get out of here. Buddha, what'd you think of the show?
So I've never been to a Luft before. Shit came
Still
up.
haven't.
Yeah. So and I know this. To Deep's point, this isn't a real Luft, but it was my first. Yeah. I've been to a lot of car shows. I mean, like Deep said, there was over 1,000 cars. Just this Orange County Fairgrounds is huge. You mentioned running into people. I ran into someone I knew from like the VW bus world 2.5 decades ago.
Wow.
And the randomness of that huge crowd and just man, I just wish it was every weekend.
Right? I know, right? It's like, I don't even want to, It's like, we got to go back and do Bid Nerds? What the heck? It's a good thing we have the nerd herd out here making it awesome and bringing us back. It was so great to meet you guys that we got to meet in person in LA, and we sure hope to get to do it again soon. Air and Water. So I just wanted to, Look, I was talking to some people this afternoon. Chef and I were having a meeting with our good friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas, and Julie Kane, who is the best, was hanging out with us. We were making big plans for Vegas Auto Fest this year, and so we were telling Paul Jarrett, the general manager over there at Godden, humble brag, about air and water, and we're talking about air and water and air and water and air and water, and Julie's like, hold on, you guys. Who's air and water? So we're like, no, it's like air and water. She's like, oh, okay.
And then it clicked.
And I'm like, oh, you know what we got to do? So we're always asking the nerd herd to do stuff, right? So the nerd herd, when we flex, the nerd herd can flex, right? Check this out. So I immediately went and got this Instagram handle like a half hour before we started the show. Air and Water on Instagram. Go ahead, nerd herd. Guys, go find this. It's ERINN Water. Air and Water on Instagram is a new handle. It's got one
That's
follower.
our new friend.
But Air and Water
mascot.
Yeah, you guys are going to see a lot from Air and Water in the coming months as we roll up to the next Air and Water, whatever that may be. But we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. I know Patrick Long's going to get ticked off at me again and have to send us another cease and desist after we did the Luft reject shirts, which I did see some Luft reject shirts floating around the show this weekend. So that was always awesome. Warms my heart to see that kind of thing.
The professor was rocking his, which made me jealous that I didn't get one. I was so
because
bummed.
you've never been a reject. Being a Luft reject. Back when being a reject of Lufticult was a thing, now anybody can get it.
There were no rejects this weekend.
Yeah, it was like they let every damn guy. You get to come.
Yeah.
It's basically what getting into Luft or getting into Air and Water basically means you paid $100 for parking. That's basically what it was. And if you were smart, you just paid the $20 for parking in the normal thing. I would like to have gotten out in the parking lot to see the cars that were out there. I'm sure there were some great cars. Okay, so let's get to the show. What we do, if you are new to the channel, if you're one of the new Nerd Herd members that just learned about us, this is the show where we play the Price is Right with cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, P-Car Market, and more. We find the most interesting cars we can. We talk about the listings. We analyze them, and then we make predictions as to what we think the results of those listings will be. It's a lot of fun. Play along, see if you can beat our predictions. Most everyone can, but we'll see if you can. You can play along in the comments. The Nerd Herd right now is rocking it already. Guys, have you hit the thumbs up button? If you haven't done that, please do so. And let's get to the predictions from last week. Michael D., while you're teeing that up, I am going to shout out to our good friend Anthony at Our Smiths in Idaho. Fine Swiss repair. If you have a fine Swiss watch in need of service, Our Smiths in Idaho can get you hooked up. You don't have to be in Idaho. You can just give them a call or reach out on their oursmiths.com website. They will send you a box. You put the box in the coffin. That's a little lingo.
He
lingo that we learned.
He described that certain watches require the coffin. Others can do without. They just get a sleep sack and But it was really cool to hear him break it down. Yeah, that was very cool stuff.
So he'll fix up your watch and then send it back to you. Good to go. Good as new. All right.
Super high touch. Good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to the predictions that we made on the last episode. The first one, boy, I think people have been chomping at the bit at this one. What was the first car on the list from the last episode, Michael Deep?
All right, JP. As the herd knows, we don't do very much homework here at all. So I had selected a 1985 Audi UR Quattro. I take that back. Who selected the car for us? It was somebody else. It was Andy, who I don't know. Andy selected this.
Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
FJ Andy.
I know. FJ Andy selected for us the Audi UR Quattro that was on P-Car Market. Now, our car had a fresh paint job, but it was showing just 71,000 miles out of Lebanon, New Jersey, and gorgeous in alpine white. And this condition, it looked, it looks like a brand new car. I got into it. We talked about how rare it is. One of like 400 and just 73 for the model year. This is really the jumping off point for the homologation special for the Audi Quattro rally car that dominated the World Rally Championship. And so, hey, here we are. We're looking at the car. And as I give my bid, and I jumped in deep, I think I went 80 grand or something. was Carbine, I think, that put it out. He's like, this car's got a bad Carfax. This thing's been involved in an accident. And was it an accident, JP, or was it like there was a title issue, right? Didn't have a branded title. And
it was a salvaged. This was a salvaged car, and there was no information as to why it was a salvage
at all. And so that just ruined everything for me. I was super bummed. And JP, this just winds up being another example of how P-car market doesn't choose to lead with the truth. They choose to lead with the sizzle. And oh, by the way, and I just, that's such old car guy fodder and tricks. It's about, getting somebody committed and then figuring it out as you go. And I have experience working in the car business. You buy and sell stuff all the time, cars and gear and things like that. And it's an easier, simpler, like, transaction when everybody's just upfront with what's going on. And time again, we see P-car market fail to do that. And I had drank the Kool-Aid on this one. I thought I just took this one at face value. And could you imagine if I had sent these people money without reading the Carfax? Like, what a disaster this would be. And they're praying for people who are, either easily to believe what they're being told or just want to take advantage of the ether. And I just don't think that's fair. And so, John, you pointed out, and I was still the high bidder on this one. So I changed my bid down to 49,000. JP, you took it down to 29,000. Rami was just above you in studio at 32. Anthony Vieira was in town with his father in studio, choosing to join, all the great crew from Vegas to drive across to LA from Vegas. So he was there, and Buddha was in studio. So let's see. So Rami was at 32, Anthony was at 34, and Buddha was high at 55. So JP, let's see. Do we want to read some of the herd? Is anybody in there yet? Is Randy?
I don't have numbers yet. Yeah,
that's all right. We'll get to it.
Yeah,
we'll just get to it. So a couple things happened on the way to the Hammer here. Are we good?
We're fine. Sorry. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. Thought I had this thing.
All right, here we go.
I looked at my phone.
Yeah.
So
shit.
Okay, so here's the deal, JP. The Hammer hit at $35,750 after 36 bids where it failed to sell. The car resides now in the deal tank at $48,500, which is interesting. So at let's see, at 34,000, Anthony was our winner, and at 49,000, I would have won if it would have just went straight to the deal tank. But anyway, JP, what do you think about that result? And what do you think about what it's listed for in the deal tank?
Buddha, what do you think of the result of this thing? I want to go right to you guys know where I'm at with this.
It's right. I actually remember, I guess maybe I was smoking something the other night when I said 55, because I remember being a little down on this car. The recent paint job made it sort of like putting Band-Aid lipstick on a pig. There was that one interior shot we found of the interior where the glove box was half falling down on one side, and just so I think he's going to be lucky to get that. Look, you show up to any car show in that, you're going to get all the attention in the parking lot, regardless of whatever the title says. So
yeah.
I mean, you don't drive the title, right? And that's one thing about cars like this. I said it in the last episode. A lot of times when we look, these cars weren't worth anything 20, 30 years ago, and that's when when whatever caused the salvage happened, right? So we don't know if it was a fender bender. A $3,000 fender bender on a $6,000 car is a totaled car. This car was a $6,000 car 20-something years ago. It's certainly not now. But the problem is P-car market here. It's not so much the title. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that they buried it. It's the fact that they are scammers. And right now, I am so pissed off at scammers right now. You guys have no idea. This particular car was a scam. I got scammed this week, guys. I have to I haven't told any of you guys this. I've only told a couple people. I've been kind of saving it for the show. I got scammed on, I think, what day is today? Today's Wednesday. I got scammed on Monday.
Did you buy a 912?
I went to that one worked out. right?
Yeah.
But I was on
Good,
Instagram.
good.
So here it was Monday morning after our great trip, right? We're all just like super happy. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm still hungover from Rami's birthday from Saturday night. And I see on the gram, not on the gram, I'm sorry. I see on Craigslist my morning coffee. I got my little puppy sitting next to me. I'm drinking, the first good coffee I've had all weekend because the coffee sucked in LA. And I'm cruising through and I see a 1974 Volkswagen thing, right? I'm like, oh, sweet. I've wanted one of these again. I've owned them, or I've owned one, and I wanted another. I was like, holy shit. And it was out in Jean. Buddha, you know where Jean is, right?
Yeah.
That's out in the sticks, right? So I'm looking at the photos. I'm going, oh, wow. And it was like $1,000, right? Which, okay, this is BS. But the ad was very clear, right? It was like, doesn't run, it's been sitting for years, don't know, I don't know much about it, blah, blah, blah. So it seemed kind of legit. So I reached out to the guy and he's like, hey, I'm getting 1 million calls. I'm like, well, I'll come out and, I'll come out to Gene. What the hell? It's worth a trip. And he's like, okay, but I think I don't know. Nobody's committed yet. I'm like, look, I'll send you a couple $100 just to hold it for, just so you know I'm legit, right? So he gives me the Venmo thing, and I send him a couple $100, and I'm like, okay, I'll get out there in a couple hours. And I, so we're texting. I'm asking him more questions about it, and he's sending me pictures of the interior. He sends me a picture of the title. I talk to the guy on the phone. He sounds legit. And I'm like, all right, whatever. He's like, hey man, do you want me to just bring it to you? I've got a trailer. I'm like, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And like, he's like, all right, but my old man doesn't want me to let it go until it's paid for. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So I Venmo him the other $800. Yes, this happened. I sent this guy $1,000. I got totally robbed. Totally robbed, you guys. Man. Totally robbed. And I would do it again and again and again. I said there at one point he was like, man, this is getting crazy. I've got so many people that want to just come and get it right now. Are you sure? I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. You guys know. The nerd herd knows. Hold on. Yeah. Can I tell the story? You guys know how much of an a-hole I am, right? There's been so many times where I've like blown people off because just the slightest slight, I'm like, oh, screw this guy, blow up the deal, right? And this was one of those times like, oh, don't, because he was like, oh, this is getting ridiculous. And I'm like, okay, he's offering to bring, don't blow up the deal just because it, and I went ahead and did. Okay, go ahead, Deep. Let me have it. You guys let me have it, nerd herd. I got robbed.
I just feel terrible. I empathize because JP, every fish has a bait, and the biggest bait for JP is a Volkswagen
thing for $1,000.
Somebody baited the hook with a Volkswagen thing. I'm surprised they only got $1,000 off you.
Well, no, but that's exactly the thing, Deeb, is that if it were a penny more, I wouldn't have done it. That $1,000 threshold is where it's like, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
The upside of this thing was high enough that, okay, if there's a 50% chance this thing is a scam or 80% chance this thing is a scam, it's fine. It's $1,000, right? Who cares, right? I mean, obviously I don't want to lose $1,000, but I was like, I'm talking to the guy and he's telling me about how, the last time my dad ran it, he was trying to get it to run. This guy was great, man. He just worked it. He knows Volkswagen people. He played the part perfectly and he just made me believe. And I was like, oh, whatever. If he had, and the other thing too is I offered up the $200 deposit to hold it because I've missed out on deals, right? Where something's really a really good deal and you know his phone is blowing up. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get in front of this so this guy knows I'm not just another chump that's going to blow him off. Because we've all sold stuff on Craigslist. It's a pain in the ass, especially when it's a good deal. Everyone in the world is, calling you and you're like, forget it. So, yeah. So ultimately, go ahead.
Are we taking bets in the comments to see who in the herd we think is the one that took JP's $1,000? I'll start the bidding. I'm gonna start the betting. My bid is that it was Gerd because Gerd's pissed he had to run Cars and Cafe while you were gone, and so he grabbed $1,000 off of you for his efforts. So I'm guessing
I would have happily paid Gerd. He provided a value, right?
I think Gerd did it. So that's, if we're playing Clue, Gerd did it with the thing in Gene.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm more pissed about the $1,000 or waiting around an hour for the guy to show up. I'm just like, come on, man. So, like I called Sahan and I'm like, hey, call this number and see if he's still got it. And he's like, yeah, he's fucking you. Sorry, I just dropped an F-bomb. He's like, it's still for sale. And I'm sitting here. Well, here's the craziest thing, right? I'm waiting for the guy to show up, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm here. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. The tires were flat on the trailer. It's going to take me another hour. I'm like, a-hole, you have my money. I'm scammed. Why didn't you just ghost me then? I would have figured it out, an hour sooner. And I could have been like, yeah, whatever. But I had to wait an hour to figure it out because why did he reply? There's nothing more. Ah, man, I'm just so I don't know. I called him back. I was like laughing. I'm like, you got me, dude. Good job. Your life is your punishment. I hope you spend the $1,000 to fix your double wide or whatever the hell.
To fix
have fun looking over your shoulder, bro. What's that, Buddha?
To fix his thing.
To fix his thing. So when it comes to P-car market and this kind of ish, look, this car actually exists. It was actually something for sale that someone could buy, but it's on the same, spectrum. There's this guy with the Volkswagen thing who's a full-on thief, and then there's people who are straight up on the other side of the spectrum. And somewhere more towards the thing scammer is P-car market than up and up. And that's why over and over and over again, P-car market, if you are considering purchasing something on that platform, do your homework. Don't just go, it's going to be fine. Be careful because you don't know what they buried. It took my partner, Michael Deeb, who was an expert. He didn't even notice. The only reason I noticed is because he goes first, right? And I had time to look at the listing while he's doing it. I'm like, oh, great. It's buried at the bottom. And I sent the guy $1,000. So anyways, I'm broke. How you guys doing? How dumb was I to send this scammer $1,000? I apologize. I'm stupid. I don't think you guys should ever take my advice again because I fell for it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and for not just me getting scammed on the Volkswagen, but the results of this really cool car that is unfortunately not worth anything because of that title and because of the way it was buried. I think if this car could have brought real money and is worth something if it were listed on a platform that was more up and up and more transparent, and that was put out right in front, everyone would have been, okay, fine, we understand the value proposition. Let's go. I think the seller would have probably been able to sell it and been probably happy. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and let's move on. I'm going to cry a little bit. So if you hear me weeping in the background, go easy on me on the comments, guys. I'm hurt. I'm a fragile dove. I'm wounded.
Oh my God. Here we go. All right, JP. Our next car was a 1995 Porsche.
Michael Deeb, you don't even care. You just don't care.
993 Carrera Cabriolet that JP could have bought if he had $1,000 to put down on it, but he's broke, so somebody else was going to buy this one. Our car was located in Franklin, Tennessee, showing just 66,000 miles, was two-wheel drive and a manual transmission. The car looked beautiful in black on black on black. Pretty low spec, but a lot of the 95s were. But I don't think that detracts from this car just having a real pure 993 look. Love this car on the 17-inch Cup 2s. I don't mind the basket handle, although I do understand that the basket handle rear, like accessory rear brake light on some of these cars is polarizing for folks. Like some people really don't like it. And I understand that, but it doesn't bother me at all. I think it looks really good. I actually kind of prefer it. I think it looks really, I'm down. Make mine a basket handle. I'm totally okay with that. If that's the one you don't want, I'll take yours. Thank you very much. So JP, I started the bidding on this car at $60,000. You took the over at $60,993. And then Rami took a really high over at $67,000. Anthony Vieira at $64,000. And Buddha, please forgive me, I wrote down your bid on our document, and then I think I accidentally deleted it and didn't see that I deleted it, and I lost your bid. So give me a guess as to what you think this black.
I think I said 55, but I don't
55.
Remember.
Low man in the room. Okay, yeah. So 55, doop. And all right, so there we go. So we got you at 55. JP, our car sold on P-Car Market for $63,903 on 31 bids. That is just over average, but down from, like an extreme retail number. So I actually think this car in this condition with these miles for that hammer is a pretty fair deal. And I know that doesn't include the hammer fee that they pay. On top of that, the buyer's going to pay. So, what's 5% of that? It's another $3,000. So they're in at 66, 67,000. I'm totally
not
okay
to
with
mention
that.
tax, because it is a dealer, and there might be. I don't think there are any dealer fees, but yeah.
Right, but I think that car is very fairly bought. Maybe not well bought, but fairly bought. 993 convertibles have gone up in value. It's convertible season. This is the one you want. I like this car. I like the price. Very well done. For all the reasons we just trashed P-Car Market, occasionally they trip and get it right. and this to me seemed like a very well done transaction all the way around. So a little tip of the hat to P-Car for not effing it up. What do you think of the result?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful car. I think this is one of those situations where, you have clearly this is at a dealership that has pretty darn cool inventory. I mean, look at the stuff that's in the background here. We're dealing with a fine, place here. And P-Car Market, I think it would have been hard for them to screw this up because, dealers don't typically, a dealer that represents cars like these is probably not going to bury a title issue somewhere. They're going to be on the up and up, or at least you would think so. And this car, like you said, ticks all the boxes. Black on black cab. The 993, look, if this were a coupe, it'd be $100,000 or more with this kind of miles. And cabrios, once again, cabriophobes lose because they miss out on the value of being able to get a spectacular car at what is essentially 40 to 50% discount. So, yeah, I would love this car. This car should be in my driveway. Buddha, what do you think of this thing?
Yeah, this is JP spec all over it, black on black.
Yeah.
Just that. No, I actually just sort of visualize you in this car.
Wow, even Anthony says he might consider that, and he's one of the biggest cabriophobes I've met.
You rubbed off on him. You spent a weekend with Anthony's dad, and
you rubbed off on him, JP. Anthony's put $1,000 down on a thing.
on the
thing. Hey, wait a minute. That was at my expense. I don't know why you mentioned that the basket handle or whatever. I know people don't really like it or whatever, but I haven't heard of it being that big a deal. I mean, it's like, really? Who cares? Take it off. Big deal. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as it's like the ET on the back of the earlier cabs, that little rear third light that's super easy to get rid of. So it never ceases to amaze me. I ranted on a couple episodes ago about how so many Porsche buyers just completely lack vision. They cannot look at a car and imagine it in any way other than the way it sits right in front of them. And that spells opportunity to me. I mean, I love that kind of stuff. I love it when people, when you see a car that has the wrong wheels on it and it just gets totally undervalued. And it's like, dude, get the wheels and just replace them. Who cares? It's the easiest thing to completely transform a car. So yeah, I don't know. This is a beautiful car. Great time of year. And did this price, does this reflect what we just saw over the weekend? I mean, are we going to see Porsche prices going up because 11,000 people were just walking around, with all these Porsches, and now everyone's social media is blowing up with pictures of these amazing Porsches, and everyone's like, oh, I got to go get one. And then they go, oh, geez, these things are really expensive. I guess I will get a cab. I don't know.
It would be interesting to see. I don't know if Zach from Cars and Bids, could you track the traffic on Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids starting Monday morning for people searching Porsches after that weekend?
They can,
because I was doing it.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, there's a beautiful blue one on Haggerty Marketplace that we will cover next week.
When does that close?
Thursday. That car closes Thursday. Mauricio's car, and so that car, we'll cover that car on Wednesday night. That'll be fun.
Nice. Okay. Well, let us know what you guys think of the results of this beautiful black 993 Cabrio. Was it well bought or was that way overpriced? Is it time to face the music on Porsche prices and they're about to crash? Let us know what you think in the comments below. What was the other car we made a prediction on the last episode, Michael D?
I think it was British. This car with no teeth. JP, God, did you select this? I think you selected this. The Lotus Emira First Edition, a 2024. I picked this car, actually. I picked it because it's got a manual. Our car is on Bring a Trailer, JP, showing essentially delivery miles with just 71 miles on this First Edition out of Fort Myers, Florida, again on Bring a Trailer. So here's the deal, JP. Just a recap for everybody that may have missed the when we covered the car a couple days ago. The very first Emiras are landing from the UK in the United States. The one that they're releasing first are V6s with manual transmissions. The other ones that are going to come later have a AMG 4-cylinder turbo that makes like 300 horsepower, and those cars only come with a dual clutch transmission and a paddle shifter. So if you're looking for a 6-speed manual, this is your Huckleberry, and these cars are in all of the states in the United States except the one that this guy lives in. For whatever reason, whatever the special thing they have to do for California smog and stuff like that, it hasn't been done yet. And so the California cars are being held back. So the ones that you see on the ground in California were ordered out of state. So this car is in Florida. It's amongst the first ones to arrive. We wondered if people would pay a premium for these cars in the secondary market. So to start with a little bit of context, this car MSRP was $97,650. Add basically 11% for tax and tags, and you're right around $108,000 for this car out the door. So JP, I started the bidding at 112, saying it'll bring a premium, but I don't think this is a $125,000 car in the secondary market. Nobody's going to go make 20 grand on these things. And I do think there's plenty of them coming in, despite them not being available in California. John, you still took the over at $115,000. Rami was under me at 108. Anthony was a high man at 120. And Buddha took the over on Anthony at $120,001. Randy B is on, but I don't see the bids for this, so we will jump right to the result. JP, our car did sell for $113,000 on a respectable 25 bids. I missed the Yahtzee by $1,000, so I'll take the win on that one. Which is good because I haven't had a win in since the Reagan administration. But anyway, JP, explain to me what you think the person who sold this car is feeling, right? Like, chances are that this guy would have ordered this car nearly 2 years ago. The guy who I saw that had one had ordered his car like 20 months earlier. So more than a year and a half ago. His car comes in, he gets it from out of state, he's driving around California, he's enjoyed it. This other guy probably ordered his car a year and a half ago. His car comes in and he says, I think I'm going to make some money. And he goes to Bring a Trailer and he takes some nice pictures and he puts it up there. It doesn't even have 100 miles on it, which means he hasn't really enjoyed the car at all. And then he sells it for what I'm addressing as roughly $4,000, $5,000 over what he paid for it. Doesn't that seem like a long time to hang up your money on a deposit and wait for this thing to come in? And then it's gorgeous and you're like, I'm going to get rich. I mean, it's possible that he just had to back out of it because he couldn't afford to keep the car. But chances are, I think we're going to see a lot of Lotuses, just like we're seeing a lot of name whatever the new car is that just hit the road. Cybertrucks. Yeah. Cybertrucks are running through the gamut. You and I both sort of agree that the big values on those have kind of jumped the shark and the values will depress. These cars have really just hit the road and you can barely get $5,000 over. Everybody else I think would read the writing on the wall and say, I've got a firm grip on my car. I wouldn't run the risk of burning it on an auction platform because it may not sell for profit, and an auction platform may not give me a reserve that would protect an equitable return. So this is kind of a bummer for me because I think they're special cars. I like it as much as you do. I know you really like this car. I think this is a fantastic driving car, but I also don't think that the Lotus brand is something you can speculate with. So what do you think's going on through this poor guy's head? Because he certainly didn't make any money.
Well, I mean, it's what was going on in his head 2 years ago is really the factor, right? I mean, in 2022, there was so much free money floating around. Interest rates were, basically nothing. And remember when this car was announced, before it was available to actually even put a deposit on, it was like supposed to be a $70-something thousand car, maybe an $80,000 car. And then, they said, okay, we're taking deposits, and they bumped the price up to 90-something, almost 100. And at that point, during 2022, that I'm old enough to remember that people were paying $100,000, $200,000 on top for GT3s, and other special Porsches. People were paying ridiculous amounts of money to get whatever the latest thing was. Everyone was shouting silliness about, production line problems and supply chain issues and blah, 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 blah. And this car, really, on paper represents a hell of a value in this kind of like in the sports car world. There's nothing else really out there like this. We saw one up on the crest this weekend, and
placed with an influencer. It wasn't his car. He was lent that car by Lotus to go, talk it up.
Yeah, whatever. It was sitting there next to its competition,
they
GTS.
They were filming videos. So they were doing a back-to-back with this Lotus, which is the first one I've seen, and that a Boxer GTS. So that's actually, I think, a good question. I mean,
fair comp. Yeah.
And me, if I had the money, I'm taking the Boxer GTS. Actually, I've never driven either of them, but just on looking at both cars and sitting in both of them and seeing them, so where are you guys going to land on that? If you've got that money, are you taking this or a GTS Boxer?
I mean, if you want to be invisible and you want to have arguably maybe the better car, then you get the Boxer that nobody cares about at all. Like no one, that car may as well have been a Camry. And that's ironic, given that the Lotus that was getting everyone's attention has a Camry engine.
Camry motor.
Having driven both of them, I'm taking the Lotus all day, every day till Sunday. It's less money than a new GTS. If you can get one of these for list price, I'm taking this car all day. It is so much fun. It is not a Boxster. And that's a good thing. It's not a Boxster in any way, and it feels like it. And look, I like the Boxster. Lots of journalists. What is it? Matt Ferris says the best car ever. Blah blah blah. The Spider. You can make that argument, but there's something. This car feels special. The Lotus that looks like an exotic car. It just does. Whereas if you get a GT4 Cayman, it looks like a regular Cayman. Most people don't, with a wing on it or something like that. Yeah. Even a GT4 RS doesn't have the presence as this, the most basic Lotus Emira. And I said it to everyone who would listen. Why would anyone listen to me? But, everyone compares this car to the Evora, which is what this is it's basically the next generation of the Evora. And everything that they got wrong with the Evora, they fixed with this car from a styling point of view, from a handling point of view, from a driving. The interior in this thing is awesome. They got rid of those back two seats, and you just look. You want to be seen in this car, and you want to be seen around it. Whereas the Boxster, whoopity doo, you've got a Boxster get in line with a million other people. I mean, and that, okay, maybe that doesn't matter to you. Maybe you just want the better car. Okay, that makes sense. I wouldn't begrudge someone picking the GTS. I wouldn't make fun of them. I wouldn't think less of them. And just for me, I want the cooler car, and I think performance-wise, they're pretty darn close. Maybe it'll be interesting to see that video, what they say ultimately the performance comparison actually is when you put the two together. But
it looks better in person than in the pictures. I mean, the pictures look great, but in person, it really is.
It's a gorgeous, It's
striking.
It looks like a little supercar. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
There were some insane cars in that parking lot up on top of the crest, and that.
Oh, and we were late. The lot was essentially empty. Yeah. I mean, how many cars when we drove up
20
at the
30?
late morning? Oh, I think we saw more than 50 cars come down the mountain flying.
Past us, going back down.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
That was a great drive, guys. Yeah. All right, let us know what you guys think of the new Lotus Emira. Did they get everything right? Is this the car to save Lotus? And is it better than any version of the Boxer or Cayman or not? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And let's go take a quick break, and we're going to be right back with a brand new batch of predictions. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to... Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, we are back. Buddha is not back from the restroom, obviously. So we'll just go to this camera right here. Welcome back. Thanks for hanging out, guys. If you haven't hit the thumbs up on this particular episode yet, and you are part of the greatest group of human beings alive, a.k.a. the Nerd Herd, please hit that like button right now, guys. It really, really helps us. It's great seeing the Nerd Herd grow. There's always new names in there. And we're having a great time doing the show with you. I got to tell you, Deep, and I've been telling people all weekend, people are asking about the show, and it's like, I'm jealous. I think it'd be fun to just watch the show and hang out in the comments. That seems like where the action is happening. You know, that's where it's entertaining over there.
They always have more fun than we do. Plus, they get to hold us accountable. We're the idiots that are like, it's this. And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, oh, it's not this.
Yeah, I mean.
What was the one you got wrong the other day on that Acura Legend Coupe? What was it? The front wheel drive.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for bringing that back up there. Thanks. Why don't I find some junior high pictures of you, Deep? Why don't you talk about how I was scammed on a thing again? Well, this is what I got to deal with, you guys. This is my partner. He's supposed to be on my side. And what does he do? He just turns the knife whenever he gets a chance. Thanks a lot, man.
I'm there for you, JP. I'll hold your hair over any toilet. Yeah. Here we go.
If I had hair to hold, it's a little awkward holding my beard hair while I throw up. That's not good.
Yes. Gonna have to wear gloves.
Yeah. Shout out to our good friend Rami. His birthday. This is his birthday week. We had a great time hanging out in the club with him till 3-something in the morning with a bunch of 20-nothing-year-olds. I'm like, hey, is your mom here? I might like to meet her. That's that place. So Rami has us drive down after air and water. We go up to Long Beach from Costa Mesa. That's a 30+ minute drive. We check it. We get into our hotel rooms. We all decompress a little bit. We get dressed. We go to a very nice dinner. We met up with Mike from what's the guy, the tool guy? What's his name? Wrench. Mike Wrench. And so he gave us like the inside Long Beach story about the area that the restaurant JP picked out was at. But after dinner, JP's like, dudes, we have to go down to Huntington Beach to meet Rami for his birthday. He's got a table reservation at this bar, this rooftop bar / nightclub. And of course, we drive all the way down after our dinner, and we get into the club, and Rami's not even there yet. We beat him to his own party. Of course, this guy has to make an appearance. But we get there. JP, I can only speak for myself, but I felt like the biggest tool, being that I was probably twice as old as the median age inside the club. I mean, it was bad. I haven't been in an environment like that in a while. That used to be my jam, but not anymore. And it was deplorable. And I'm wearing like a zip-up hoodie and, white tennis shoes. And, all the girls are all dressed up. It was comedy to hang out there. But we had a really good time. We had the table service. Rami got like a 55-gallon drum of like Grey Goose and some kind of and champagne and stuff. And we're sitting there like, how much? There's no way we're drinking all this alcohol. So I'm like going up to girls just to try to get girls to come up in the, I'm like, look, I'm not getting on you.
Come drink for free.
We have all this booze, And I'm sitting there talking to these girls, and we're talking about like, I don't know, supply side economics and I mean, just like with some 20-nothing strumpet, and she's like, "Oh, that's amazing." I'm like, "Oh God, this just get me the hell out of here." But we love Rami. We had a great time. I drank a lot of that Grey Goose. We definitely put a dent in it, and we went back to Rami's hotel, and there was like some naked girls on the balcony above us, and we're like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, looked down and they saw that we were there, like, "Oh," and they ran back. It was just like, yeah, I didn't get back to our hotel till like 3 a.m. I was just like, what the
That didn't happen at the Marriott.
Yeah, it did not. Airport. Rami knows how to party. I do not, for the record, but it was fun hanging out and trying. All right,
Good
guys,
times.
let's get back to some predictions. What car we got? That's the thing. We started the show thumbnail says, "Is it time to face the music?" For cars like Singers. Let us know, and let's get to the first car on the list. What do we got, Michael D?
All right, JP, the opposite of a Singer. I selected a 2000 Isuzu vehicross 4-wheel drive V6 little sport cross utility vehicle that Isuzu, I give them all the praise in the world for building this thing. I actually think they look pretty cool. It kind of looks like a running shoe. You know what I mean? Neat little thing. Did you know those are Recaro seats in the front of this little banger? Our car is located in Medford, Oregon, with 68,500 miles. It's got a clean Oregon title. But just a neat little car that I don't know if it was based on another platform that Isuzu had, but I congratulate them and praise them for building this little thing. Normally aspirated 3.5 liter V6, makes just 215 horsepower and just 230 pound-foot of torque. 4-speed automatic with a 2-speed transfer case, limited slip rear differential. It's just a neat little go anywhere. JP, back in the Pacific Northwest, did people buy these? And did you see these on the road? And did you ever think they were cool? Did you ever have a moment with these? I started in 1999 at a Mercedes-Benz dealership. It was my first job. And when I got there and I started on the floor, I had to get Mercedes trained, and I was learning all the product and all this stuff. But we had an inventory of really nice used vehicles, and we had a super low mileage vehicross that had been in inventory for like 3 months, and they were like dying to get rid of it. And I went out and sold it to somebody. I think it was the first car I sold in my first job in the car business was an Isuzu vehicross, and I didn't know anything about it. But just goes to show you how far enthusiasm can take you. So JP, you lived where something like this would thrive. Any love, any experience with the old vehicross? What'd you think of it?
Nah, nobody had these up in the Northwest. The only time, like the first time I saw one of these, I used to make commercials for a lot of like Indians casinos up there in Seattle.
Yep.
And you know how they used to have, they'd have like slot machines with a car above it, like win this car kind of thing.
Yeah.
The dealerships couldn't sell them, so they were giving them to the Indian casinos to try to give away as prizes. I mean, things are just goofy looking. Even back then, it was like, what is that thing? This is... maybe this thing was a little bit before its time. I mean, a lot of crossovers are kind of like this now, but people didn't understand the concept of a crossover back then. You either had an SUV or you had a car. The plastic cladding all over this thing and the kind of sporty kind of look to it just didn't make sense, and no one knew what to make of it, and ergo, no one wanted one. I mean, I feel like the place that this car would have been for would have been, again, SoCal, going to the beach and putting a couple of surfboards on it or something like that. I just don't know who they were making this car for. A bit ahead of its time. Buddha, what do you think of these?
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, you like the Monteros and stuff like that.
I do. I do love Monteros. I think that this is, you guys mentioned that, it was a crossover before everything's a crossover. Every single, it doesn't matter who makes the crossover, they look exactly the same. This thing sort of gives its own stance. I mean, look at those details on the side door. It's basically the strakes on a Ferrari. This is what we're looking at here. It's
basically a Testarossa. It's a good observation. Yeah.
Or corrugated metal on your favorite bar in Tijuana.
Yeah, those rivets are just like an a 993 RS. Look at that. That's like a GT2 Evo. Come on.
Yeah, totally.
If this were a manual, I would really be like, oh, let me find the bids on this. I think this is cool. If you can get this for relatively good value, then you've got, again, look at the integrated, that tire holder in the back. I think there's a lot of neat about this. Again, you show up at your car show on the weekends, people are going to pay attention to this. Go, what the hell is that? So I think it's a way. I mean, instead of spending all your money on a Cybertruck, buy some crypto and then buy this thing. Invest your money.
I think it would look pretty dope actually if it had like these wheels are period correct, the chrome horrible hideous stuff. But like if you had what are those MDS, like some black kind of single piece kind of riveted looking off-road
bead thread,
wheels. Bead thread type wheel. Yeah,
smaller wheel with a bigger knobby tire.
Yeah, I think then it would look. If the tires looked like they were kind of inflated and ready to go, or underinflated, ready to do some crawling or ripping through the sand or something, I think this thing does have some potential. But this one in particular looks pretty rough, guys. Looking at the photos, there's a lot of nicks and scratches and just erosion to the trim because the plastics from back then just don't hold up. I mean, how could they? This is really, really old plastic.
I think it was, Deep asked what it was based on. I think it's based on the same platform as the Amigo that they had. So,
what did he call me?
Yeah. Look here.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Isuzu is probably, or at least was, the most racist brand in the 90s. You guys remember the commercial when they had the guy? This was a real commercial. Isuzu had a commercial.
The line guy, Joe Isuzu.
It was even before Joe Isuzu, right? They had a guy. They had this Japanese salesman on the floor of a Japanese store. This was their national commercial, and the white guy, the American guy, is like Isuzu, and the Japanese guys goes Isuzu, and the American guy is. The American white guy can't say the word Isuzu, and that's the whole point of the commercial. And at the end, after they already said you could get a Isuzu iMark for $199 a month, blah blah blah. They had the cold ending, and the Japanese guy looks at the white guy. He's like, "It's okay, kid. I can't say Chevrolet."
Chevrolet. Yeah, that was such a great ad.
This is a real ad. Look it up on YouTube. This is a real thing. We are now demonetized. Yeah,
I remember that ad, and JP repeated it verbatim. That's exactly how it went down. It was hilarious.
Oh man! So, all right, what do we think this will bring on cars and bids?
Cars Isuzu bids. Good question, JP. So the median price for Isuzu vehicross is $13,000. Our car is way up in the Pacific Northwest. It's got fair mileage. Doesn't look to be in any kind of special condition, but it doesn't look beat up either. I don't think on cars and bids, with our car closing tomorrow and showing $9,088 on just 12 bids, I don't think this car is going to reach the median price. So I'm going to just take $1,000 off of that and tell you $12,000 is all it's going to take to bring this one home. JP, where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, cars and bids a lot of times has a tendency to stall out the day before. We don't see that on Bring a Trailer. We don't even see that very often on P-Car Market, so I'm not going to say that it won't get another bid, but I am going to venture a guess that this car will not make it past $10,000. So I'm going to go $99.99 and give it to Buddha. What do you think?
I'm going to come right in between you. I will say this is the right platform for this car.
Agreed.
This weirdness, cars and bids, 100%. I'm going to take right in between you guys at $11,000.
11 grand. All right. What are the bids that we got out there in the nerd herd? Looks like everyone's kind of agreeing. Michael S, 13 grand. Scott Derrickson is at 14.9. We got a bid. Brian saying 12 grand. Indy saying 11. Yeah, Andy Stahl 10,250. No one's over.
They're all higher than us. They're all higher than us.
Yeah.
Only Indy Dave is at 11, and then I think somebody way at the top with Christian was at 9. Andy's at 10 too, but there's a lot of 13s and 14s, 14.9, 14.6, 12. That's it. Those are kind of high bids, so they seem to like it a little better
Matthew
than I
Whitesell with us, $9,500. Shout out.
Randy's down there at 11,250 with me and Jitters. Andy Davis Jitters, everyone. He's hiding behind the screen.
Racer nerd at 10.5. Oh, good. All right,
it will be interesting
happens.
to see what happens with this thing. Our good friend Andy Stahl, he's a 10,250. I'm mentioning him because we'll be talking about his beautiful FJ Cruiser, a 2014 that he that wound up in his possession with just, 17,000 miles, Andy? It's going to be going up on Bring a Trailer soon. Lee and I just did a bunch of photos. We've got a video for it that's going to be going up. Really excited to see the results of that one. It's not even listed yet. You can't even see it anywhere yet, but it'll be listed
I was going to say,
soon.
It's not on my dock.
Yeah, but it will be on the spreadsheet soon, and we'll definitely talk about that one. But I don't know, maybe if somebody wants to get in on it early before it goes to auction, maybe someone will make a bid on it. I don't know. Andy, would you sell it before it goes to auction? I think there's probably a number that can make that happen. If you want the last, if I were looking for the last car, like let's say somebody said, all right, I can buy one vehicle that's going to last for the rest of my life. That's it. I think that car would be it. I don't know what else you could buy that would be as reliable and robust and kind of cool for the rest of your freaking life. It's not a Ferrari or anything like that, but if you bought a Ferrari, you're not going to have a car in a year and a half if you drive that every damn day. The FJ Cruisers will go forever and ever and ever, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's move on to the next car on the list. Michael Deeb, what do we got?
All right, JP, you'll have to forgive me because I did no research on this. Been tired since we got back. It is a 1992 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 reimagined by Singer. This is a premium listing on Bring a Trailer. It's been running for about 2 weeks, and it closes in a couple of days from now. Out of University, Virginia, this is the San Diego Commission. As I understand it, Singer names their cars after the town or the city from which the commissioner, the person who commissioned Singer to build it, resides. So the original owner of this car was in San Diego. So this car is aptly named the San Diego Commission. Our car is showing 10,000 miles, which is true mileage unknown, but I believe that's 10,000 miles since Singer redid the car. So I think that'll come back into play, JP, as we look at values for Singers. There are some that are just, sort of shown and occasionally fired up and driven onto a lawn. And then there's a handful like the one we see here that have actually been driven. This car looks to be pretty spectacular. 1992, so it's based on a 964. Singer does everything with these. So the 3.8 liter is a Cosworth. So as it's a Cosworth developed car, I can tell you this is one of the earlier Singer cars because later cars were made. The motors were done here in the States by Ed Pink, who's a very, very famous racing engine builder in Southern California. Ed Pink has been making the basic 3.8 normally aspirated Carrera motors sort of ever since. This car was previously listed on BAT back in September of 2023. At that time, JP, our car was bid to $964,911, where it failed to sell, and it was showing 10,000 miles back then. So late last year, somebody took a swing at it, and it missed. And now here we are 6 months later, and they are trying again, and it looks to be, let's see, out of Lawrence, Indiana. It looks to be a different consignor this time. But you got to wonder if they'll fare any better because just 6 months ago, this car failed to sell, not breaking $1 million, and it's its own worst comp. So, JP, I send it over to you. What do you like about the Singers? What do you like or dislike about this car in particular? And then, read the tea leaves for me. What do you think is going to happen? This car failed to launch 6 months ago. Somebody brought it back with different photos, but it's the same car with the same mileage, and I don't know that the market is any stronger even for a Singer. So, John, where are you at?
I do think the market is stronger right now. And I know that the thumbnail for this particular episode is it time to face the music for Singer, and our price is going to crash on these things. Look, if this thing were going into fall just this, going into winter just this last year, late 2023, things were definitely really soft. Every episode we were talking about how prices were going down, down, down. A lot of cars were not selling, and the big thing that I kept yelling was like, dude, it's winter. Cars like these don't sell in winter. Going into winter, somebody has $1 million. They're not shopping for $1 million car in November, right? They're going to wait till spring. They're going to wait till the day after something like air and water. So I think, like we've seen time and time again, I always bring up our good friend, the Flying Hawaiian, and when he listed his car, one of his cars in the fall or winter or whatever, and it failed to sell, and then he brought it back on a lesser platform. He tried first on Bring a Trailer, then he brought it back in the summertime on P-Car Market, a lesser platform, and it did $30,000-$40,000 better. This is definitely the best time of year, I think, to sell something like this, because we are just now beginning the driving season. We're going into, we've got there's going to be Car Week this summer, all the car shows. It's finally thawing out in the Midwest and on the East Coast. People want one of these again, and you know what? It's going to be interesting to see what the number is, because like you said, 10,000 miles, that may as well be 100 for one of these. Have we ever seen one driven this much? Buddha, what do you think of this Singer?
Yeah, I'm surprised the mileage. So kudos to whoever bought it and drove it. Yeah, good on you. I don't love these photos. They're overexposed a little. I think if you're selling this car, you really hire a guy, versus it looks like they didn't use their iPhone, but they maybe went to Best Buy and bought a $300 camera, watched a YouTube video about what angles to take pictures of a car at, and went at it. I'll say Singers are amazing. I've now had the opportunity to really spend time with two, not driving them, but really go through it and see what they do to those cars. We were at Air and Water this weekend. There was that beautiful pink Singer, but there was also the Jimbala and Rami's roof. And so walking out of that show, it wasn't just like, oh, that Singer. I hardly, I just had to think of it. So in that perspective, not as special as maybe everyone just automatically attributes them to be. Deeb, I don't know does it show the San Diego Commission when that was done? I know as time has gone on, they've gotten more and more sort of insane as to when this was originally commissioned, but
let's see. I'll keep looking. They on the previous listing, they said they touched up the paint in 2021, so we know it's older than that. But I think, as it's a Cosworth motor, I think this is going to go back a few years. Here we go.
Buddha, you bring up a good point. When you talk about the options that you have, you start to get to $1 million, and oh my God, come on. Rami's car, his 993 roof, I have driven. His 993 Euro RS, I have driven, and it's hard to imagine cars better than that. And and unfortunately I haven't driven a Singer, so I'm dying to get behind the wheel of one. And how often do you get the opportunity to make that happen? But the two cars that I listed previously, the Euro RS and the roof, those are like $400,000 cars. I would rather have a 993 GT2 RS roof and a 993 RS, Euro RS, than I would just one Singer for around $1 million. But it's hard to say that. I don't know. Could this car really be worth, could the driving experience be worth an additional $500,000? Well, if I had a certain bank account, maybe you already have those two other cars, and you're just adding stuff. If you're a Prince or something like that, and you have all the money that's ever been printed. Okay. But, I really want to find out, could it possibly be true? What'd you find out, Deeb? Anything?
Somebody said they saw it in December of 2017. So I actually think this car was done in 2015. It's really interesting. People were thinking when it was listed the first time that they had seen a Singer go for 1.5. So people were really curious to see where this one would come in. But I think the big thing here is that this car has traded hands a couple times already. And it's got 10,000 miles. This one's been driven, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even if I agree with JP that the market is stronger now than it was 6 months ago, I still don't think this car is going to bring big money. So do we want to jump into
bring?
All right. So John, without further ado, our car closes in 2 days. It's currently sitting at $525,000 on 13 bids. I think the car is going to stall out at $992,000. So I think it'll bring more than it did when it ran 6 months ago. That was essentially 965. I'm giving you 992,000. And I think if it gets that high where it's just under $1 million, I think it sells. But it's curious that there's a different person listing the car. I don't know if the person who's listing it is doing the representation of the car. If they are, they're doing, in my opinion, a very amateur job. Or if the car traded hands privately after failing to sell on Bring a Trailer, and now the new owners speculating and trying to get it. They might agree with you, JP, that the market is stronger, and thus they believe the car will bring $1 million. They could be trying to cash in. I don't think this one breaks $1 million, especially in lieu of the fact that it failed to do it just 6 months ago. Even if we can quantify that the market is stronger now, I think this one's failure to sell on this platform is going to hold it down. And that's just my opinion, JP, and I'm sticking to it. $992,000 to you.
I think the fact that Bring a Trailer agreed to relist it 6 months later after an FTS means that they also believe that the market's probably a little bit stronger.
Can I contest that point with you real quick?
You can when you get it when it's your turn.
I just thought we could argue the point because it's a really good. It's a really good
but
point.
Hold on, let me finish my point. Maybe I'll overcome your objection in my. Okay, look. Did BAT talk to this listing or the lister and say, "Hey, we're going to agree to a lower reserve, and as long as the seller is okay with that, and they've had a come to Jesus moment," or is it that BAT actually agrees that the car is in a better season of selling? Okay, Deeb, go ahead and cut off, Buddha, who's been patiently waiting over there. You hate Buddha, I get it.
Yeah, Buddha, sit tight. This won't take but a minute. I'm going to flame my partner here. I also think there's something to it, JP, where I think BAT would bend over a little bit backwards, quote unquote, drop their shorts just to get another Singer onto their platform. Sure. I think we have to account for that. But
it's not another Singer; it's the same Singer.
Yeah. Well, any Singer. They don't want me singing on there. So I also think too that if we're just talking about a regular Porsche and it fails to sell and somebody wants to bring it back to market, or it's sold privately and a new person wants to bring it to market, that what they typically do is lower the reserve. So I think that first point you said was right. But in this case, I don't think they brought it back thinking the market was stronger. I think they brought it back saying, we could have the Singer on here again. Let's do it. Because I think this is, as they say, JP, good for ratings. Yeah,
this is the first Singer I've ever seen like any sense of wear and tear. Not that this thing's beat up at all, but there's actually a couple rock chips. There's actually some, driver's side bolster wear. This car does actually look like it's driven. Will that hurt it? Breaking news, Anthony from Our Smith says, I'm going to say this and I mean it. I'd rather have a 964 than a cab. I can help you with that. I'm over it. All Singer owners are on the doorstep of wearing Depends. They are. I have yet to see a cool person actually own one of these. We've seen cool people drive them in videos, but the owners do seem to be a bit geriatric. Buddha, what do you think of the Singers at time to face the music?
I think I'm like torn because both my mom and dad are right. JP and Deeb, I agree with points you both made.
You have to pick one.
Yeah, I've got to pick one.
Yeah. You can only be on one team here.
I can only be on one team. I think Deeb is right in that it doesn't matter where they think the value is. Just getting a Singer on your site's getting the clicks, and I think that's a really good take. I think this car has been slightly burned by the fact that, as JP just noted, there's a rock chip you can see, which you just don't see on a Singer. I'm going to say this thing just gets to 900K and then fails to sell.
So and I forgot to give a bid. My bad. I let Buddha go out of turn. Buddha, if you want to change your bid after mine, You're welcome to, just
I
because of
know
the
those
rules.
yeah.
But look, I'm gonna go 999,964 and say it gets really close to 1 million, but doesn't quite get there. I do think it's a better season, and I think wasn't there a Singer at the Broad Arrow auction, Deeb, that we were just at?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember now.
There was,
and the big question is how much did
our
that
buddy
one
Mario
go
was
for?
looking at it. I don't know what
I thought it was well over 1 million, and I feel like anything under 1 million at this point is a discount Singer.
Even for an earlier one?
Yeah, for anything. I mean, I haven't seen a Singer go for less than 1.2 and I don't know how long.
I'm
going to stick at my 900.
Yeah.
Book me down, Deeb.
The early ones with the Cosworth motors are called classics. And they just have, I think, 360 or 380 horsepower. The later Ed Pink ones, I think, got punched out to 4 liter. Thus, they made 400 horsepower. And now they make that fancy race one with the 500 horsepower TWR motor, and they're making the turbo, the G body looking one.
But those are $3 million plus.
Right. But I'm just saying, for a classic, to get an older classic for under $1 million, yeah, that's still a good deal. I think those ones that you expect are bringing over $1 million. I just think they're in better undriven condition. I think they're more closer to new than this one. I think this is cool that it's got rock chips. If I wanted to buy one, this would be very attractive to me, because then I wouldn't have to worry about it so much. Because I would, I think me or Rami or you, JP, if you had the money to flex to buy something like this, you'd also go out and drive the damn thing and listen to it. So I think it's cool that it's got rock chips. But it's gonna cost him, and I still think even JP's bid is under $1 million after he sang all its praises. See what I did there? Yeah,
and well, I mean, that's the thing. It really does come to, it's like we talk about the type of person that can own something like this, and they probably have a lot of other stuff. The honest to God truth is, if I had, let's say I had $1 billion and I could fill a warehouse full of whatever I want. There's a bunch of cars that are on the list before this, like the F40, like Anthony said, CGT, the 993 RS, a bunch of stuff, right? I don't know if one of these would be added to the list ever until I get a chance to actually drive one. It's all I know about these cars is what everybody says about them on the videos, and everyone says they're great, but you got to wonder who you're trying to convince, really, when you hear people talk about that stuff. And I think Anthony's right about the type of owner is really kind of turning people off. My only real direct experience with a Singer owner was at the 2018 Phoenix Club swap meet, 356 swap meet. We were out there Mikey and I were putting Defrostination flyers in people's cars, right? We were just dropping them in.
Oh, this is a funny story.
In the windows or whatever. And Mikey put one under the window thing, right? Which, okay, whatever. And I look back at, I'm talking to someone, and I look over the corner of my shoulder, and the guy is removing it from the car as if it was as if it was a dirty, piece of toilet paper or whatever, and it was a Singer, right? And I was like, oh, that guy's an asshole. So I just ever since then, I'm whatever. So yeah, I don't know. Look, the nerd herd seems to be with you guys. No one's over $1 million other than Andy, who's a pretty smart guy. He's at $1 million, $1,001. So everyone else is under there.
Andy's taking the over, and he's parked his bid $2 over yours, JP. So that's pretty funny.
Chris Carbine's at 895, so he's down there at 890.
He's under me.
Yeah.
Wow.
The big question, Chris, do you think the car will sell at that? That's the next big question. Where do we think it fails to sell, or has the seller, read, listened to the music, read the writing on the wall? What other cliches can we come with? Did they have that come to Jesus moment and say, yeah, all right, it's time to let this thing go because things are softening? Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. And let's get the show on the road. We got another car. What else we got?
Yeah, when in a Singer, don't lead horses to water. Okay, here we go. So let's see. The last car, JP, the last finally car is a 1987 Porsche 911 Carrera Targa equipped with a G50 transmission, Our car is out of North Salem, New York, showing just 56,000 original miles on Bring a Trailer. Our car is in Grand Prix white, has a 5-speed G50 gearbox, all black interior with standard seats. But just looks to be in spectacular original condition. There is a nice photograph of the motor from underneath, and it looks like most of the factory cosmoline is still present. It does look like some has rinsed off, probably from driving, in the rain or running through the car wash or whatever the case may be. But by and large, it doesn't look like anybody went and dry iced or cryogenically froze all of the dirt and grime and factory cosmoline off this car. JP, Grand Prix white with all the black trim. This car looks a little bit like a stormtrooper, which is to say handsome. I really like this car. The Carfax shows like a minor damage thing, but I don't think that's going to matter on a car of this age in this condition. I just thought the car was really nice. The season has arrived to get a car like this on the road all across the country. And while we see Carrera coupes with this mileage and in this condition easily break with the gearbox, the same gearbox, $120,000, it's very rare that we see Targas or even convertibles get up into that range. And I think the result of this car is I think the table is set for this one to sort of set a new high watermark. So, JP, I send it over to you, despite, which is not normal for me, despite it having a minor accident or a minor incident on the Carfax. I think this car is going to press up against $100,000. What do you think when you look at this Grand Prix white G50 Targa with absurdly low miles? I mean, let's talk about that. 56,000 miles on a car. I mean, essentially, this car wasn't driven, which is a crime. But it's all original, it's all stock, it's all super clean, and it's all there, and it's photographed really well, and it's on the right platform. Talk to me. What do you see happening? It's May right now. This is the perfect timing for this guy to try and get his money. What do you think?
Yeah, beautiful car. Our good friend Anthony, he was like, he's a total cabrio phobe. But he likes Targas. Okay, fine, fair enough. I think this is the car that's a compromise for the Cabrio. I think the upside to it is that it does look better than a Cabrio, but the downside is that they are more expensive than a Cabrio, so they're not as good as a value. But this car is, the best of both worlds. It's got the G50 transmission, which is the one everyone wants. I remember in the early 90s, I even remember in the 80s, in the 90s, like, people hated the Targas. The Cabrios were always worth way more than the Targas, and the Targas over the last 20 years have really found their way. People love the look of them, and heck yeah, I would love to own this car. I think this is definitely, if you had to pick one Porsche, this definitely checks a lot of boxes, and I could see any one of us driving this thing. Buddha, what do you think?
I think it's beautiful. I noticed that PCA sticker in the corner of the windshield up front. Mm-hmm. So the low mileage tells me that this is like a 65-year-old guy that just had knee surgery. That's why the mileage is so low. Mm-hmm. He's just not been able to drive it, but he still polishes it every weekend. If you can get into this and we won't go into biz now, but for a good, this is where the fun is, and where your money gets well spent, I think.
Yeah, what do we think it's going to bring, guys?
All right, JP. So I'm changing my bid from $100,000 because there is a minor accident on the Carfax, and it's actually pretty low spec. It's partial leather interior. It's got a Blaupunk Reno radio, and not much else. It doesn't have a short shift kit. It doesn't have a steering wheel with a raised hub. It doesn't have sports suspension. It doesn't have limited slip. It doesn't have sports seats. It doesn't have full leather. This is a really low spec car. So despite it being clean, I think the low spec and the checkered history will hold it back from what I originally had hoped would be a high watermark for a G50 Targa. So I'm going to give you $90,000 where I believe it will sell. JP, what is your bid?
That's a good. So
it's at sorry. It's at 60,500 on 12 bids, and it doesn't close for another 3 days. So there's time left on this one. It's not shutting down tomorrow. It's at 60,000. It's got 3 days to go. So where are you at?
What's your number?
90 flat.
Yeah, if this were a coupe, it's definitely in the it's definitely a 6-figure car, or at least very high 90. The Targa thing is going to hurt it. If it were a Cabrio, you're probably looking at a $50,000 or $60,000 car. So it really is, is it going to be in the 80s? Is it going to be in the 90s? If you're at 90, that's really low miles. I don't think the spec matters. I don't think we're out of the era where a minor Carfax issue is an issue. Just finding air-cooled Porsches at all in good shape is next to impossible. And I think a fender bender 20 years ago is not going to break the deal here. So I am going to go 95 911 and hand it off to my good friend Buddha.
I think you're right. I just think the Targa is going to hold it back. I'm going to go significantly under you both at 85.
85. All right. Well, you're in good company there. The nerd herd is all over the place, though. Racer Nerds at 89.7. Gerd's at 86.5. He's a star player. His rival Anthony's at 94 grand. So I think those guys are tied for Yahtzees. Kevin thinks it's a $100,000 car all day. Hard to disagree with him on that. Scott's at 82 and Indy Dave's at 92. So yeah, there's a bit of a spread there, but I don't think any of those numbers, none of those numbers would surprise me. Like a lower number wouldn't shock me. A higher number wouldn't shock me. Right now, it's just like the market is just in a weird ass place. And we're just trying to collect the data and see if we can figure something out. But will there be a bump in the value of this car because air and water just ended and this is one of the few air-cooled Porsches that are available? I think that's a genuinely possible, scenario. Maybe we'll have to ask Aaron Water on Instagram.
Aaron Water.
And she'll have an answer for us. I can't wait to find out more information from Aaron Water. I believe she is the world's premier expert on this sort of thing.
So are we going to make her? Are we going to make her a Pisces or a Cancer or a what's the other one? A Scorpio. She's got to be a water sign, right?
None of those things mean anything to me. So you'll have to educate me later, or maybe talk to Mikey's girlfriend. She'll have all the info on that sort of deal.
Totally.
All right. Well, I'm excited to find out what happens with this car. Let us know what you guys think this car will bring. This little Targa in the comments below. And I think so. Anthony says that I should get rid of my cab and get the Targa. And that sounds to me, I don't know, I think it's public, that Anthony is basically agreeing to pay the difference between the value of, so I'll go ahead and sell the cab and then buy this car or another Targa, and he can send us a check for that. I think that's a fantastic idea. I love it. I love our Smiths. That's how much we love it. Kevin says Scorpio would be the sign there. Buddha had to dip out because I guess he had to pee or take a gummy or something like that. I don't know. He ran out of here. So I don't know. Did one of you guys insult Buddha or something like that? He just flipped everybody off and ran out of the studio. I don't know what that's about.
That's awesome.
All right, well, great show. Great hanging out with you guys. Again, Godden Classic, Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Give them a holler if you are looking for parts for your classic Porsche or need a classic Porsche. Steve's always got something cool hanging around over there. If you are looking to sell your car auction, but don't want to deal with the willy-nilly craziness of bringing trailer cars and bids and P-car market, who do we know that you can talk to? That's right, Michael Deeb. What's up?
Yeah, hey,
tell us about that.
Reach out to me at mdeeb@haggerty.com or just direct message me through the show. Let me know if you've got an interesting car you'd like to sell. I'd be happy to help you out. We are going to start taking consignments for Monterey. We're going to have a big event, JP. Typically, we have the Motorlux party on Wednesday night, and then we did the auction the following 2 nights. We are going to have the first night of the auction on the Motorlux night, very similar to what they did at Air and Water, where you've got 10,000 people in attendance for the Motorlux party. They're going to have the auction that very night while everybody is there, and I think they're going to make a big circus out of it. So I will work really hard to get you inside to be part of the action. So let me know if you're interested in attending.
Buddha, how can we find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you can find me. Queers for Gears is my Instagram handle. That's pretty much the only place I post. And I just want to say shout out because you're in the chat. Anthony, your dad's awesome hanging out with you. Joe, Randy, we got to meet so many of the folks that, I'm usually just here in the chat with folks. So to get to meet those folks and then go drive with them, what an awesome time.
Randy B says he's going to be here in Vegas. Yeah, shout out, Randy. We'll go hang out. I'll buy you dinner. Also, shout out to people we're hanging out with this weekend. Kevin Hunter from Wire Train, the famous guy. I am now the owner of his awesome 912, the dot car. So he drove it here this morning. He crossed the desert, and he is on the airplane on the way. He's probably home already. So shout out to Kevin. Thanks for hanging out. It was great to see you this morning. Love you, buddy. And then, I don't know, you guys booted when you stepped out. Who's setting up a GoFundMe to recoup my $1,000 that I was scammed on the thing?
Is there really is there no
anybody? Any love at all? Nobody cares. They're just like, screw JP.
There's no recourse through Venmo. You can't. There's
Venmo doesn't give an F. You can't even flag the profile. Like, it's such a pain in the butt.
JP, I did all my GoFundMe money to the Ryans, so I'm all out of it. Sorry.
All right, very nice, very nice.
Can't you send him a bill? Just send that Venmo guy a bill for $1,000.
Ooh, I'll try that. Maybe That's a good idea. Maybe he'll just pay up. Somebody send me $1,000 so I don't cry as much as I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight. Thanks, guys. Love you. We will be back on Sunday night, and we'll have a brand new episode. Bye.
Bye.